good people? I'm Dmitry, and the case industry has evolved a lot in the past decade. We went from appreciating fan mounts on side panels and full black interiors to clean acrylic windows to loving TG, going too far with tempered glass, and going back to the basics with mesh airflow. The user experience working with the case has gotten a lot better. We have many more options to choose from in terms of color variation, size, water cooling potential, airflow potential, mobility, and we wanted to look back in the past 10 years to see how best cases of the decade have shaped to where we are today. Obviously, cases evolve to fit our hardware needs, our visual preferences, and our styles, and we've been doing case awards since 2014. I have been reviewing cases since 2011. I got my evil twin over here to keep us in check. This should be fun. So, let the case awards for the decade begin after this. Your eyes haven't seen anything like it yet. The new Razer Blade Pro 17 packs a beautiful and fast 4K 120Hz panel with gorgeous vibrancy and color accuracy with incredible clarity, awesome for creative work that will never disappoint, with a fantastic future-proof I/O as well. It's also a touchscreen, so your fingertips get some action. The bezels are tiny, the chassis is sleek, the fiery keyboard is perfect, the trackpad is massive, the hardware is epic with RTX. Man, the Blade Pro 17 is a complete package. Experience smooth 4K gaming, linked below. Alright, so first of all, let's appreciate all the monumental releases around 2010, because there were many. Starting with the Corsair 800D, it was the definition of elegance in a super tower. Clean lines, aluminum elements, push-to-release side panels, a large window, full black interior with hot swap base, proper chamber separation for PSU, and a 360 rad support up top. It was also the case that put Corsair in the spotlight because of their innovations that would eventually backfire because of their lazy designs. Do you guys remember Thermaltake Level 10? I mean, to this day, it's such a unique exterior design with that visual compartmentalization that eventually evolved to the Level 20 that we know today with a similar design DNA. Yeah, probably the only thing they haven't copied. The Cooler Master 692 has a special place in my heart. It was because of the Hardware Connects review I bought that case, and it was my very first gaming tower. They got so many things right in terms of exterior mesh design, the full black interior, the size was perfect for a mid tower, it was built very well, priced well, and looked like a big leap forward compared to traditional at the time mid towers like the Antec 300. The same can be said for the Cooler Master Half X and 932 that later repopularized airflow and actually was used as an example to show how bad airflow has become in cases. Thanks to Gamers Nexus, Steve, you the man. Let's move into 2011, where your embarrassing voiceovers began, and two cases stand out for me. The Corsair 600T with a curvy exterior, swappable side panels for mesh or acrylic, modular hard drive cages that became the standard base of this design, and awesome cable management layout with all rubber grommets that linger in most cases today. The second case is the Lian Li Kaori PC U6. That's probably the worst name for a case ever. I mean, that's been the case with Lian Li for a while though. But the snail shape enclosure housed a full ATX motherboard and power supply, probably had better cooling than most cases of 2018, and the only equivalent in terms of case weirdness today is coming from InWin with their ridiculous plastic laundry bin cases and absolutely gorgeous 3D printed abstract shells. In 2012, we got an updated Cosmos 2 with those epic handles, the mechanical front panel, and heavy AF side doors. It was really all about the exterior show and internal drive capacity, as the case, for its size, wasn't very water cooling friendly, but the modding community loved it. The NZXT Phantom 820 also made a strong impression with properly utilized interior space with modular sections, removable 5¼ drive cages, elegant built-in lighting, lots of radiator options, and an epic gunmetal paint job. Probably the last popular and somewhat decent bead Phoenix enclosure is the Prodigy. With that unique small box design and flexible handles, the interior supported ATX power supplies and long graphics cards too. Sadly, ITX wasn't as popular back then as it is now, but an even more impressive small chassis from 2012 was the Sugo SG09 by Silverstone. This was a micro ATX case with long GPU support, ATX power supply compatibility, ventilation all over the place, including a massive air penetrator up top. In 2013, when we finally started caring about thumbnails, the Fractal Design R4 came out, and you already know everything about it because it's been the same case and shell ever since, with like minor changes here and there. They even launched a new one recently, the Vector RS, with strange exterior design choices. If you need a fractal design case, get the R5 or the R6. The case of the year for 2013 was Phanteks Anthu Primo, that really put the company on track to dominate from a feature perspective. Ever since the Primo, we've had fantastic focus on user experience from Phanteks, and this was their first case ever too, with many of the features trickling down into lower tier SKUs. And the most recent Lex 2 or the Anthu 719 is a reminder how good design can last for years. But in 2014, we had a massive fail streak. This includes the Cooler Master Half Stacker, cool concept but terrible execution with poor space optimization and worthless modules on their own. XFX launched the case. It was so bad, I don't even want to waste words. Antec truly died for us when they asked us not to publish the review of the Antec 1200 gaming tower. It was a truly horrible case that we left by the garbage, and it was the first and last time we reviewed a case from Raid Max with awful build quality and frame. Also, with a name like Vampire, it's truly on us for accepting to review something like it. But let's not forget, 2014 also brought us incredible releases like the NZXT H440 and S340, two of the most popular cases from NZXT and as a whole. While the case of the year again went to Phanteks with the Anthu Pro, an $89 case at the time with such a good interior layout that is still valid today. In 2015, I got to experience a truly wonderful ITX enclosure, the Ncase M1 V3. Back then, we're up to V6 now. This case had fantastic aluminum construction, a super modular and flexible interior for cooling and power supply options, and it's still a case that I am fond of today. I'm also realizing that Phanteks won the case of the year third time in a row back then with the Phanteks Evolve ATX. I love the build quality, the subtle lighting integrations, the overall user experience and cooling options, despite being a choking hazard for front fans. You do really sound like a fanboy, but we do have real fails too, like the Antec S10. It was a $500 enclosure and they got a design company to make them a case who clearly never built a PC. Inwin also failed hard with the 707, and it's because of these cases I wanted to highlight what came out in 2010, because this garbage came out later and is just embarrassing. 2016 was no different. Riotoro Prism was one of the worst quality cases I've worked with to this day, with bad fans, cheap thin metal frame, bad acrylic panels. While the EVGA DG87 was a nice try, it's something different, not really my style with the old television vibes, but for its size, it felt really cramped to work in. But some unique options include a totally fanless and absolutely beautiful Streacom DB4. This ITX enclosure was unlike anything I've ever worked with that required a special power supply and a bit of DIY to connect heat pipes to the aluminum exterior that actually acted as a heatsink. As for the case of the year, this one went to Be Quiet Darkbase Pro 900 for its innovative internal structure with different height mounting for the motherboard tray, and you could even invert the interior. As for 2017, the case of the year went to Fractal Design R6 as they inevitably refreshed the case with TG and some internal optimizations to match the competition. Phanteks made a $1,000 case, the Phanteks Anthu Elite. I had to clear my room to make room for the box. Cougar came out with the Conqueror, a super unique exposed frame that I appreciate. Meshify C was my favorite case of the year that housed my Ryzen system with excellent airflow performance and one of the easiest builds in terms of cable routing. Well, I guess it is time for more fails. Cooler Master forgot to open the front panel on their high airflow focused case, the H500P. They later recovered by meshing everything. Zalman launched the X7 full tower, and in 2 words, it is lazy and uninspired that got the designer fired. True story. And Lee launched the Alpha series, quite boring, very standard, and I am so thankful they would later redeem themselves by launching the Lee 011 Dynamic. And that was actually the case of the year for 2018. I love the new take on panel mounting and smart dual chamber design. Regardless of the angle, it was beautiful, fresh, and the only complaint was not accommodating large CPU tower heatsinks and tall GPU blocks. Thermaltake actually launched something cool too, the View 37 enclosure with a curved acrylic panel for beautiful showcase of your system, as the fan area was relocated beside the motherboard. Corsair took our feedback on fixing the TG mount on the Carbide 275R, making it an easy recommendation for its price class. The Deepcool Quad Stellar has one of the coolest frame designs ever that wasn't really easy to work in, but I still appreciate them taking a risk. The Evolve X launched with a few internal and exterior changes to slightly improve improve airflow and add an ITX spot above the main ATX section, and the H500i came out too, replacing the S340 with a new modern look NTG. And I am now surprised you're not jumping in with any fails. Yes, I am saving those for 2019 because there were plenty, which brings us up to speed till now. NZXT in 2019 launched the least exciting special edition of the H500 with, wow, such an exciting Overwatch logo on the front and side and this orange cable bar internally, only twice the price of the standard black model. What a killer deal. Cooler Master made the hotbox, the Q500L. It's not for hardware you want to keep, as lack of ventilation is a concern. However, it does support ATX motherboards and power supplies with long GPUs, plus it's relatively cheap at $59, but for this price you might as well go for the P300 from Phanteks. They also released the H100, trying to keep it in the family with the 200mm front intake fan, but the internal layout was a total fail with lots of room wasted, PSU on top of the motherboard, limiting cooler height, hard to work in, and just too expensive at $69. I didn't think I would include this in here, but the NZXT H510 Elite was kind of a fail at launch. Not because of the added features like the front TG panel and RGB fans with a fan hub, but quality wasn't any better versus what you get with a $69 case, and they didn't even include a second exhaust fan at the top. After the freak out and after many emails back and forth, they decided to include the second top exhaust fan because temperatures were actually better. And now if you buy the H510 Elite, you still get a beautiful enclosure with better temperatures. You are welcome. The new Hydro X series from Corsair is a full water cooling ecosystem with transparent blocks for RGB goodness and built-in flow indicators, with soft and hard tubing available and a full array of fittings so you can design the perfect loop for you. Hydro X by Corsair. Everything's linked below. Okay, time to finish this decade on a positive note. Lian Li launched the O11 Dynamic XL, a larger iteration of the original O11 with a wider, taller frame, hot swap base, the same excellent quality, awesome for air and water cooling systems. I had a chance to work with the Enthoo 719 by Phanteks that is very flexible in that bottom chamber for storage, an ITX system, or radiators. It's just a massive case and targets a specific audience. The PureBase 500 from Be Quiet was the quietest case I reviewed in 2019 because of low RPM fans and a pretty closed off front panel. But here's a tip to improve temperatures: just move the front intake fan to exhaust from the top and you'll drop. Phanteks released a P400A enclosure with a mesh front panel that not only looks awesome, but cooling is incredible. I built my first hardline water cooling system inside the Corsair 680X, and honestly, it was a wonderful experience. None of my frustrations were caused by the case itself, and I think we built a very sweet system for what the 680X was designed for. The Lian Li TU150 is a cute ITX enclosure with a handle designed to house a proper CPU tower heatsink. It's not meant to compete with the end cases of the world, but has a specific use scenario by letting you mount a massive CPU tower in it. Fractal Design launched the Meshify S2, overall a very good frame with more airflow than the Define S2, but still with the toasty GPU area. While the Landcool 2 by Lian Li was so close to being my case of the year for 2019 because of all the fantastic features and price point, like flexible front fan bracket, rotatable cable bar inside to accommodate larger motherboards, built-in lighting, a drive cage on rails with optional hot swap bracket, good cooling when we tested with our i9, but unfortunately, the availability was so poor in the last week of December when it launched that it basically disqualified it for being the case of the year, despite it being so awesome and its features, but unfortunately you can't really find the case anywhere, even though I think it deserves it. Which brings us to this point. 10 years and 50 cases later, my case of the year for 2019, which is also my favorite case, is the Phanteks P600S. I love the fabric mesh that looks really different and is very good for airflow. You could close it off too for a quieter run, but temperatures do suffer. The interior layout is your standard Phanteks that we've seen forever now, with simple user-friendly assembly, clean cable management, radiator support at the front and top, and you can also mount an ITX system above the ATX system too. I will say only the white and gray versions look interesting, as the black model is kind of bland and kind of too matte black, but they fixed the airflow issue from the Evolve series, and it's one of my top cases for the year. Oh yeah, you are such a fanboy. But the Landcool 2 definitely deserved the nomination for the case of the year, but because of lack of availability. Alright, good people, if you're still here, thanks so much for watching. The decade recap has been a fun one. Looking forward to 2020. Hope you are too. Make sure to check the links in the description to see what cases are available, and based on our recommendation, you can purchase as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys in this year. Yep, I hope so too. Whew.